welcome back to Snake River Fly. Beautiful evening here in Pocatello. Weather's been kind of nice. A lot of people actually out fishing. Fish moving around, doing some cool stuff. Kind of not normal for us this time of year. So we got another pattern coming out tonight, and just want to show you guys what it's all about. This is going to be our newest little streamer, balanced barely legal. Of course we ripped that off from Kelly, but in small talk I think that we all rip each other off. This is a fly that Kelly or a knockoff of Kelly's bug, and it's fishing really good for us, just hanging flat. We've been tying in a bunch of different colors. Yellow and brown's been really good, and olive and white, all olive, but a little bit more of a balanced minnow. So the balanced barely legal, or I guess if somebody gets mad, we can call it the minor infraction. So this one's tied on number 8, Matsu J2. We've got a Matsu tungsten 3.5 in there, balanced pin, and a set of bead chain eyes. Using the 0G gravity for pretty much the whole bug, other than a little bit of solar flash. So let's go ahead and get started and show you how this goes. So we're going to start with that Matsu J2 in an 8, and I'm working some, oh actually, disregard, cut. So I've already prepped this hook. This is a J2 Matsu. Got that bead on there. We've tied it on one of our balance pins, and we got some bead chain eyes in here, so it saves us a little time just to show you guys how that goes in a later video. So we're all ready. I've done a little glue on there, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our olive zero gravity dubbing, and we're going to use our pearl ice zero gravity dubbing. Cool way to use this product, and any, you know, a lot of dubbings work great this way too. Cut a little corner off like so. You know, you don't really lose anything out of there, but then you can give it a couple flicks and there's your dispenser. So great way to work with zero gravity. We get that all the time. You know, what's the best way to control this stuff? So there you have it. So we're going to start with some of our olive 0G, and just going to pull pretty good clump out. This stuff averages about 1.5 inches by the time it's all clumped up and stuff like that, and so that's cool. So you know we can get at least 1.5 inches off the back of the bug, and so I'm just going to make that into a small clump, and instead of tying it in 50-50 right in the center there, I'm going to extend it just a bit. I want my tail to be a touch longer. And this is the top of the shank. But the way this will look completed when it's all said and done, there'll be another underbelly sitting underneath here. So just put that clump on right at the end of the bend. And now I'll just fold what would have been the waist on a lot of other materials is not the waist, because this is pretty much equal no matter how you pull it out of the bag. And so we've got a sweet little tail for our balanced little minnow here. I'll go ahead and do the same thing with just a little bit of the pearl ice 0G, and this thing's gonna ride like this, you know, basically. So down here on this side is going to be the belly while we're fishing it. So I'll take a little clump of that. I don't want it to be quite as long as the tail or as the olive stuff, the dorsal side. So we'll just go ahead and clump up that as well. Fold that back. Super easy stuff to work with. There's the tail of this bug. And Kelly, when he fished this bug, used some ice dub in the middle to separate the clumps. The original bug is 2 marabou feathers, or maybe 19. I don't know exactly what the recipe was, but marabou feathers like this, a little bit of dubbing, white marabou on the bottom, olive marabou on top, white marabou or dubbing, and then just carry this forward. So we're just going to do the same thing, and we'll just do just a little teeny bit of our solar flare dubbing on the hook here. Really messy stuff, but if you crunch it up, it's ice dub. And we'll just form a little ball here. Got a little more than I want, so that's the cool thing about the solar flare is you really can control it, manipulate it, bend it, all that kind of good stuff. So there's a little bump right there that's going to create our next section of the balanced barley. Well, I've got the hook flipped upside down, or right side up, excuse me. Well, I have that hook inverted like this. I'll put the belly on. Then when I flip it over, I'll do the back. So same concept, and we're just going to continue this forward. Clump of 0G. That little dubbing ball that we put in there acts as a perfect prop to keep the angles working all the way forward. Now we'll take a little bit more of our olive 0G. 0G is definitely probably our best selling product. Yeah, it's the most unique, at least so far, of our products that we carry. A lot of people, especially Stillwater folks, love the 0G, but it's starting to find its way into almost anything. We have a lot of dazed and confused minnows in our system that we fish, and so hanging these things off of a medium-sized indicator is just turned out to be really deadly. Repeat that last one. Just going to put a turn of our solar flare in there. Cool thing is you can pull that tight before you turn it down or torque it down, and really easy to get the bulk built up and keep it keep it strong. It's in full length instead of a bunch of little chopped up guys. So now that we have it up like that, we'll put what'll be our third clump of the olive 0G in like so. Pinch it down, strap it down right in front of that last bit of dubbing. And I'm not going to fold this one back yet. I'm going to save that, fold it back after I dub this. So we'll take our belly material, our pearl ice dub. Just give that a little flick and that'll dispense it nice. Where we have that gap. If you haven't seen the 0G leech, this is where that tutorial, we've done that a couple years ago, really kind of started this whole process of how we tie this stuff in. It's a little messy the first couple of flies you tie, but after you tie, 4 or 5 of these, just like any other material, you start really figuring out, how versatile it is and what you can do. It doesn't look gorgeous while you're tying the fly, but at the end, it really will make sense. So another little wad right there. Now I'll fold that pearl 0G forward, some dam wraps, just to keep it where I want it. Using the Renzetti Traveler, flip that over easily, strap down the zero gravity on top. You can kind of start seeing how this minnow's getting formed here. So we're just continue on. So a little teeny bit of solar here in pearl. When you buy the solar solar flare from us, it's going to come long like this, as long as 4 inches. But with just a little teeny twist, it goes into ice dub really fast. It's the same stuff. Ours just isn't crinkled. So you can utilize it for more than just dubbing a Frenchie. So a little bit around those bead chain eyes. Now we'll move to the next clump. And so this will end up being this one. Is size 8, and I did extend it out pretty good, so this will end up being our 4th clump on this bug. A lot of times I'll get away with just doing 3. So I've got that sticking straight up. I tied it right in the middle, same way we clumped dub it on our leech. Turn that over to show you kind of what's going on. A couple wraps will tame it. We're going to put some dubbing in there anyway, just to finish the head. So our last little bit of pearl ice. Pearl ice is pretty much white, but it has some really cool purples, pinks, and blues in it. Makes a really good looking little streamer. Now we'll take that last bit on the bottom. What I'm trying to do here is, if you look, the length on these are all, you know, pretty much the same, but I'm going to want this to be a little slimmer just for how it'll look on the vise. You know, the fish great that way. So instead of tying it in real tall like that, which, you know, give us a fuller belly, I'm going to tie this clump in, this last one, a little shorter, right off the get-go, so we can get that taper. And we get that little bit that bent around. Oh, we got one little marabou feather in there that didn't get cut. 0 G's something that is a labor of love. I wish we would have never created it, but you know, we have to trim marabou up and a bunch of little dubbings and stuff like that to make it, but boy, sure does. It's worth it in the end, and we're getting better every day, I guess. So take a little bit more of that pearl solar flare to finish this fly off behind the head, much like the barley legal. Pretty simple fly. You just follow that same pattern all the way up, from the tail all the way to the head, and you're basically going to end up with a two-toned balanced minnow. Like I said, you can tie these in every color you want, but I'll pull those up for you to look at, and you can kind of basically see we've copied, you know, the exact same method as the original barley legal, which is a fantastic bug. So what we'll do now is we can just trim the, or finish this bad boy off right behind our bead. And this thing's, you know, these things lay level, especially this time of year when fish are pretty lethargic. You know, they come cruising around a corner and you see a chubby little rainbow trout minnow that's just hanging out. He hasn't quite got his coffee yet that morning, and he can't quite move yet, and I'm sure that they're getting chomped. Brandon caught some fish on it yesterday. So there's the rough version of it. What I'm gonna do here to finish it off, and the cool thing, I'll flip this up this way. The cool thing about this 0G is you can determine kind of the shape, and then you're just gonna give it some pinches. There's so many random fibers in this, and especially the marabou, that if you'll pinch it instead of cutting it, you can really groom it to the shape that you're looking for. And so there's kind of our finished size 8 0G, like so. It hasn't been fully submersed in Miller Lite yet, but I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And so there it is when you just get it, you know. There's gink and then there's drank. On the dry flies we put the gink. On the wet flies we put the drank. So there you go. The minor infraction, balanced, barely legal. Thanks, Kelly. I love it.